Nobody around, I mean, they're messing around.
So you might be thinking, why do I love aviation? Well, I've been started loving planes since I was little. Um, like, I always like, when I was younger, we used to live in Rhode Island, we go to Boston sometimes, and then we would go to the airport and do spotting. And then we went to the air show sometimes. And I also, and I started loving planes, and then I started ordering model planes when I was 4 or 5 years old. Like this one, but it was in 1/250 scale. And then
Yeah, what's that one?
it's Concorde.
What happened to the Concorde? Or what makes it, you guys know what the Concorde is?
It's a supersonic commercial airliner that went across the Atlantic in 3 hours.
Yeah. So what was the speed? Mach?
It was Mach 1 or Mach 2.
It was Mach 2.
It was the fastest record of Concorde.
So what happens, does it still fly?
No, it doesn't fly. It retired in 2003 because it was an accident that happened before it retired. It was this one going down the runway, and it hit a tire. It hit a metal strip.
From who?
From a Continental Airlines DC-10. It hit the tire, went up to the fuel tank, it hit the wire and caught on fire. And then the pilots tried to maintain control, but it crashed.
It's in France, right? They're France. Yeah.
It was going from Paris to New York on this plane. It was a charter, but it didn't make it. And also this Japan Airlines 747. It was in 1985. This 747 was taken off from Haneda to Osaka, and then 7 years earlier it had a tail strike in the bulkhead, which is right here in the
So
near the tail.
explain what a tail strike is.
When it tilts up too sharply, it hits this and it has a tail strike.
Oh, it just run the tail against the ground, right?
Right here.
So-
it hit
oh.
this, and then
It can be during landing or takeoff, right?
yes, sir, that's right. We were taking off, and then Boeing had to come and repair the bulkhead, but it wasn't repaired correctly. So it took off as usual, but then as it was cruising, it blew the tail off because
That's probably not good.
the bulkhead, the rivets weren't built correctly. Then the tail just blew off, and because of the pressure, it blew off and blew the tail, and hydraulics, and then it was like this, it went up and down, went like this. Then the pilots tried to maintain control for 30 minutes, but then they were trying to make it back to the airport, but due to the way the plane was flying, they couldn't get there. So the pilots, they had to lower the landing gear because they were going too high and too fast. When they lowered the landing gear, it went into a 363 turn around the mountains, and then they were trying to go back to the airport, but they instead went to the left. Then they were trying to lower the flaps to main level. Then the plane started banking to the right, very steep like this, and then it dove down to the mountains below and hit the ridge right here, then hit another one and crashed.
And how many people?
520 people died. It was the
That's
worst.
terrible.
It's the worst single aviation crash in history.
So it could be it's a very dangerous career, right? But at the same time, it could be.
The odds
Very
were
safe.
the odds were really high of a plane crashing like back in the day, but now, I mean, there is some minor incidents, but not a major commercial airliner had a plane crash.
It's usually private airplanes that crash, right?
Yeah,
They got UPS Airlines?
that's
FedEx
maybe what
does
they
too.
ship it.
How do you think you get your
Mail.
stuff?
That's how, like, if you're getting a model airplane like this, they come from China, and a plane like that one will come fly from China, go to the United States. Because, this is, they're made in China. The metal, you may think this is plastic, but no, it's die-cast metal, zinc metal, like all this is metal, not just pure plastic. That's what makes it a model. Like, person it may feel heavy at first, like a few pounds, but as you get used to it, it's not as heavy. But like these because these were designed for kids to play with. They're made of plastic. Like the wings are plastic, with the fuselage is metal. Like for this, it costs $50 a piece to get one, just for one, because the metal is so valuable.
It's sharp.
Yeah, the wingtips are sharp. If you touch it, it's pretty good. You gotta be pretty careful to touch it.
So Robert, what do all these markings mean?
That's the runway, 34. That's the runway.
Okay, what does that mean with 34?
It's the
Car.
runway sign. And
Well, why does it say 16 down there?
I guess it's to vary the light, the runway markings. And then this black stuff right here is the tires. Is that like this? They land and they have to stop.
Are these markings to help the pilots?
No, the lights they help the
No,
plane to land.
These markings on there.
Yep. Either
So this is
this.
their aiming spot. This is where they're aiming to land.
Yes, sir.
And these markings kind of give them an idea of, 3 markings. This shows the end of the runway.
Yes, right.
This shows, it gives them something to aim for. If they're down here, they're like, uh-oh, I need to get on the brakes pretty quick, right?
Yes. Or else.
Because they're kind of late.
Yes, that's right.
What happens if they're too late?
No, they have to brake really hard with the.
Do they have an option to take off again?
Yes, they have.
What's that called?
Go around.
Yeah.
Like, let's say if this plane was coming in, it was too high. And then, when it's too late, they have to go around, and then they have to come back and do another
Has
landing.
anybody ever been on a plane that's have to do a go around?
No.
Oh,
Tell us about that.
But it was not a commercial airplane.
Was it military?
No, it wasn't military either. So when I lived up in Fargo, we had chartered a private aircraft that was a twin piston engine Cessna that flew us in between the cities of Fargo, Bismarck, and a little town called Gwinner. And so every day, that plane would take off and do a circle route. And sometimes, one of the craziest ones is sometimes, and you probably know this, Robert, the wind is so strong that when we were coming down to land, this is how we're landing.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually going sideways, and right before they turn,
They have to put the rudder
Sideways.
to the right.
yeah, so they actually, because the wind is hitting them so hard
So blink.
that the wind is hitting them this way, and they're just kind of almost hovering and trying to take down, and then right before they turn, then they actually rudder in and stop.
So they drifted.
So yeah, it's kind of like
I've
it's
seen some
drifting.
planes.
Tokyo Drift, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some planes do that.
And then we've had times where, our runway was just too short and it was foggy and they miscalculated and they realized that they didn't have enough room to brake and so they had to full throttle and take off again. And that aircraft, because it was over the summer times, we were flying over we weren't pressurized. And so without a pressurized cabin, the planes can't fly up as high. Why do you think they can't fly up that high?
The pressure.
No oxygen.
The oxygen is very low. Like
So you as passengers will pass out and die. Or will pass out.
like this
become a pox.
Japan Airlines 747, when the tail blew out, there was no oxygen because all the oxygen was gone from the
Well, let me finish something and I'll let you tell that story. So because we can't fly very high, in the summer times in North Dakota, all those farmlands have this really thick black clay. And in the mornings, it's not a problem. But in the afternoons, because we can't get up high enough, there's all kinds of thermals coming off that have heated up, and we got lots of hot air underneath us. And so while we're flying back, we're flying like this. And people are getting sick and everything else, and I think it's fun, but they were not happy.
That's scary,
But
right?
because we couldn't fly up high enough, because it wasn't a pressurized cabin, we actually had to fly low enough, which is around 10 or 12,000 feet is all that they could go up.
Wow.
so after the tail blew out, there was no oxygen in the cabin. They had to wear oxygen masks and they didn't last very long, so the passengers and the pilots were starting to get hypoxia. You may think this is very expensive, but no, you just have to, the way I built it was,
You built it?
yeah, we just use like these cardboard boxes they use to pack stuff. Then we use this paper, this reflective paper. We glued it on. And then this roof, we just made it out of these little these boards. Then these lights you can just get at Walmart, and then you can just glue them onto the terminal and make them look like an airport. And this, I found this online at a website called Airport Layouts, airportdioramas.com. It's very cheap, like $25. You can just print it, and just glue it on. You have to be very careful because if you make a mistake, the airport is pretty much ruined. It took a long time for me to finish this part because there was always a time, there was always a struggle gluing the airport right. If I did, it won't come out correctly. So these planes right here, they're worth like $10. You can just get them off of Amazon. This is to save money, so you don't have to. I mean, you can get these, but they're very expensive. Like just for one, this costs $50. And this, if you're just starting an airport, these types of planes are just a good start for you. So, you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question, Robert. So if the airplane is way up in the sky like that, and they lose control of something, how do they actually drop? They just dip down and drop?
They have to drop slowly.
They have to drop slowly?
Yeah, like, so it doesn't, you don't have to dive like a fighter jet. They have
So
to
what I had one pilot tell me, these big airplanes, what they'll actually do, because it's hard to drop that slow, if they have to go down fast, they'll actually turn sideways, and they call it knifing, and they come down and then turn back out. That's how they drop down super fast. Otherwise, so much stress is going on those wings, it'll really slow your dive. That's why they have to turn and dive that way.
Wow.
It's like the quote that we read,
But
the attitude, right? If that's sideways, then that aircraft loses what? Lift. Okay, it's thermodynamics. It loses lift, so it's just dropping. It's just dropping out of the sky, basically. The pilot's got to have enough experience so then when he gets to the level he wants to, turn it back and get airflow back over the wings to get lift again. So basically he's just making it fall like a rock.
He's taken all the lift away, because once he turns like this, then there's really no lift. And then when he comes down here, he has to actually put a lot of power in to actually turn that plane back so that it grabs lift and can level out. If he does it too late, ouch.
Dang, you're done.
so it's an expert pilot, right, to do that?
You need to be, yeah, and they train in that. How do they train? Do they train in aircraft, or do they
Simulators.
simulators?
Yeah, I do simulators on the computer. Like I do Roblox, but I do flight simulator. Like there's a simulator called Project Flight. I fly like the 777, A330.
So you can find any kind that you want to learn to fly
It's like
it,
you're
and
flying a plane, like they have all the things you see in the cockpit, like the heading, the autopilot, and the altitude.
so does anybody has an adventure of your flying you want to share with us?
Speaking of games and planes, I have the game right. It's like you can like fly a fighter jet. I'm not good at landing, but at least I know how to take off.
Yeah, landing for me is not easy because
That might be an important piece.
it's easy to take off, but for me, in the
I'll just fly
simulator,
until I
have
run
to
out of fuel.
be very stable. I mean, it's easy, but when you're a first timer playing a simulator, you have to get used to it, or else you mess up your landing.
I've had pilots tell me a landing is just a controlled crash. Because basically the plane is not sustaining flight, so it's just, you're controlling a crash, it's a controlled crash.
So what happened with that Captain Sully story? Did you guys talk about that at all?
Oh, about the Hudson?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is how it started. It was I don't have an Airbus, but it
Let's
was a,
see, you're
it was a US Airways A320 taking off from LaGuardia to Charlotte, and then as it took off, there was geese that went into the engines, and they all flamed out, and the captain was like, "Oh no, what do I do?" And all the airports were far away, and he had to land the Hudson, or else he would crash into New York City. So he had to land in the Hudson. It was like a landing, but he had to go really slow, or else.
Why was it harder to land in the Hudson than it would be onto a runway?
Because if you mess up one step of a landing in the river, your plane falls apart.
So what's different about landing like that?
Yeah, like on a runway, you just touch down, but then on the runway, on the river, you have to be really careful with your speed.
You know how flat this is, and it's consistent. But when you're landing on water, and what happens if the water is not, it's
It will
wavy.
break apart.
So now the water is wavy, and you've got to land a plane on something that's not what you're used to landing on, which is something hard and flat. Now you're landing on something that is good, and it actually has waves. And so if he comes in with the wrong attitude and tips his nose in,
It will break
then
apart.
he's gonna flip over.
Break apart.
So, and once it flips over, boy, that's no bueno.
Mm.
So then he really has to come in, just like Robert was saying, it's gotta come in, he's gotta make sure that the closing rate of the ground and the aircraft is gonna be super, super slow, so that he can just touch it, because if he hits it right, the airplane can float, at least for a while, long enough for everybody to get out of the aircraft and get rescued.
Yeah.
If they
How many people died in that crash?
No, nobody survived. Everybody survived the US
Everybody survived, so we did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So, I film videos at my airport, doing videos, and just.
You got a YouTube video show us?
Yes,
There's the Concorde right there.
and that's my favorite airplane, Concorde, and the 737 and the 777.
Now they're coming up with another type of Concorde, aren't they?
Yeah, they tried the boom, I think they're gonna develop one. So I've been doing YouTube videos for about a few months. I mean, I've done videos in the past, but they weren't as successful as other videos I've done. So, yeah, I have a lot of subscribers, almost 500.
You should show one of your videos.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
just a little bit, okay? Because they're
So I
pretty
have a
long.
lot of these airport videos, and when I started, everybody's starting to like it. That's why I have so many, because it's a cool airport, man.
What's your most popular video?
It's this one right here. I'll play this one.
Yeah, let's put that on full screen.
That was this all airports.
That was my old airport.
He is advanced a little bit.
That was my old airport.
Just a piece of wood
Thank you so
and
much. I can't believe my channel is now at 100 subscribers. And thank you, Aviation_Asylum, for giving me this idea to build Lego jet bridges. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that idea. It was a very good idea. Thank you. And yeah, let's get started with the airport update. Starting here, we have a United 777. Just getting food on for a flight out to Chicago here. Then right here, I have an American 777. He will be going out to New York JFK. And then right here, I have a United 787. He will be going out to Washington Dulles. And then right here, I have an Alaska 737 in the regular livery. He will be going out to Seattle. And then right here, I have a Spirit A320. He will be going out to New York LaGuardia. And then right here, I have a Southwest 737. He will be going out to Orlando. And then right here, I have an American 777. He will be going out to Miami. And then right here, I have a Hawaiian A330. And then he will be going out to Honolulu. And then over there, we have a United 777. Just boarding passengers for a flight out to Los Angeles. And then at this terminal, we have an American 777. Just getting food on for a flight out to Buenos Aires. And then right here I have a Southwest 737 and Freedom 1 livery. He will be going to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And right here I have a Delta 767. He will be going to Lima, Peru. And then right here I have a Copa Airlines
3737, he will be going to Panama City. And then right here we have the two Air Canada 777s. So starting with the Air Canada 777 and the newer livery, he will be going to Toronto.